Welcome back to Tu-Vie, your TV movie entertainment news channel. Well, unfortunately, we don't have an episode out this week. We do have some videos I wanted to be posting out here. I got some time on my hands to edit them, so we're putting them out. Starting off with my review of Dune 2. I'm going to start with a spoiler-free review of this movie. If you don't want to watch this part, you want to go to the spoiler video, go to this timestamp. It'll go just right into it. If not, here you are. So with that being said, let's get into it. First things first, like I'm going to probably say later on this video, you do not have to be watching the first Dune movie to get this one. Does it help? Yes, but you do not have to. That's just something I wanted to make clear. Dune 2. Dune 2. What a movie, man. What a movie. And frankly, to call it a movie and not like a space documentary is insane because the level of quality that Denis put into this movie is unreal. We did briefly talk about the Dune movie in the Denis Villeneuve episode, which you guys can go check out now, where we go down his filmography list. But this one, my God, I wish it was sooner. Now, frankly, because of the Oscars, and you guys can go check out our Oscars episode, if the movie was released when it was supposed to, I think like November originally, Oscars would have been a very different outcome, would have had very different results for this season. But I'm really happy for a lot of the stuff that happened in the Oscar, upset about some things, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. But we're not here to talk about the Oscars. We're here to talk about the Shai Halud, the Lisan Al Gaib, everything. So before I actually saw Dune 2, I saw it a little late. So I saw it around the time when those memes of Stilgar freaking out over every little thing was coming out, and I thought they were kind of funny. So did a group of kids in the theater that kept laughing at literally everything he was saying in the movie, which got a little distracting. Like I get it, there were some moments where it was a little, but overall, I think the movie was absolutely impressive visually. The fact that it's actually a movie and just not something that we kind of looked into from another system or whatever the case may be is insane. Timothée Chalamet and Javier Bardem and Zendaya were all just popping off in this movie. I thought they did absolutely insane. Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica was really, really good in this movie too. But also, I feel like in this movie, Austin Butler isn't talked about enough because I'm not a big Austin Butler fan. I'm not a big Austin. Did not like the Elvis movie. We previously, for a brief moment, talked about his performance in Aliens in the Attic. And, he's had an interesting filmography and just different past, but this one I felt like he actually did a very good job in. Florence Pugh was really interesting to see in the movie, even though she didn't have that much screen time. I thought she did a really, really good job. This movie impressed me to the point where it felt like the 3 hours it practically was didn't feel like that. It really felt like it was moving through at a really fast pace, and you didn't really feel the runtime. And I really did like that because I feel like with some movies, like let's for example say Oppenheimer, there are moments where you kind of feel the runtime, but for this one, I was just constantly entertained. The action sequences were absolutely insane. The music, Hans Zimmer, baby, he still got it. I would love to see Hans Zimmer live in concert. I know he does those tours, but I think they're mainly like in like Europe. I don't think they ever been to the States. If they do, it's probably played at like the Hollywood Bowl. I'm nowhere near that, so I probably can't get to that anytime soon. Because mind you, he also did Kung Fu Panda 2 and the Kung Fu Panda movie. So keep this in mind. In one night, you can get Interstellar. Then you get Batman, Kung Fu Panda, Dune, Kung Fu Panda 2, and then I can't think of another one for some reason. The point is that it's the fact that you can see those movies played by Hans Zimmer in one night is insane. There's not much I can say spoiler free about the movie because I feel like that plays into a larger part of this whole story, and that Denis Villeneuve absolutely knows how to use a camera. And I don't believe that the budget for this movie was outrageous. Is it super high? Yeah. Like I think it was 200, 300 million, I think. Sorry, it was actually 190 million, while the first one was 165. So not that much of a jump. And he was still able to create just eye candy, man. Just a an overwhelming amount of senses overload in this movie where it was visual, it was sound, usually both at the same time. And it was just about this movie that felt really good to see back in the theaters because I feel like a lot of movies were kind of rushed and they were just made to be made and didn't, really kind of like take the fact that like you're making a movie, you're not just making a story. and it was really well done. Like I can't get enough of this movie visually. I can't get enough of this soundtrack. The other specifics of the movie, which I can't get into, it's spoiler free, are just beautiful. The acting was really incredible. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen this movie yet in IMAX, go see it. Or if you get like Dolby Vision or whatever, go see it on the biggest screen you can possibly find. Please, it is such a good movie. Overall, I know this movie is part two of a larger story, and I know with the third one probably going to be the last one. It's going to have to wrap up a lot, but I am very impressed with this movie. Denis Villeneuve was an absolute knockout. He knows that this movie has a lot of power with his name. It demands a lot of respect, and he's really taken this movie super serious. The cast was absolutely insane, thoroughly entertained for the full 3 hours of what this movie was presenting, and I am so very excited to see what happens next in Dune Part 3. Now, I'm going to be getting into the spoiler-filled version of this movie. If you want to skip all that, go to that timestamp. It'll be there. Practically the end of the video, but if you want to stay, welcome, but this is your last one. Here you are. Here it goes. It's gone. It's going. Bye. Let's get into it. Oh my God. I could genuinely go on for hours about how great this movie is, but I want to start with something first. I want to start with the fact that this whole movie is a great representation of why you do not drink while pregnant. Because stuff could happen like this. This is very similar. I know someone that this happened to, because wow. First, I want to start off with the fact that I feel like if you didn't see the first movie, you really won't be as lost. I feel like they do a really good job telling the first part of this movie. Because Dune Part 1 is not all, all of what this movie was. I felt very, as what people have been describing Empire, to then what the A New Hope was, the Part 2 being Empire. And I think they're not wrong, but they're also incomparable. But I think with the first movie being all about world building and the storytelling, visually setting up the impact of what this movie is great if you watch them both back to back like I did. I watched it the night before I went to go see Dune 2. But if you want to get into this movie, you don't necessarily have to see the first one. But the fact that when you do watch this movie and you catch some of the similarities that you see in this one, like when Paul screams silence back at the Bene Gesserit, and then you see that moment with Chani in the fight when Paul and everybody are attacking the Emperor, she kind of does that turn thing with the knife that Paul did in the first movie when he saw his vision of the Holy War. And I also think that, referring back to the training scene in the first movie between Gurney and Paul, which was kind of reflected in Paul's fight with Feyd-Rautha. So it's cool to kind of see Paul take the inspiration of, the life he had before being with the Fremen, but now how he is becoming a member of the Fremen, and how he's becoming, as according to Stilgar, the Lisan al-Gaib in practically every little thing he does. It is still cool just to see these moments reflect back in each other. And it was really cool to see that Denis Villeneuve took his time with these movies, other than like the original one from, I think, 1982 with David Leitch, that kind of rushed it all. If you go back and watch that one, it's Dune 1, Part 2, and then Part 3, and a little bit of the other books, all in one movie. And I felt like wasn't the best way to do it. I know at the time it probably made sense, but I love how Denis is actually making feel each part of this movie a chapter in this odyssey, in this epic of Paul's story. And then I feel like people doing the comparison between Empire and A New Hope is true in the fact where Empire is the best. It's such a good sequel. Dune 2 is on the list of absolutely great sequels that make the first one look like nothing. I totally agree. So I think comparing it with Empire and comparing this movie with the Empire is very different. It does kind of create a sense of falsehood where, like, some people will be expecting the space opera of Star Wars, but they're in fact getting an odyssey of what the Dune verse is normally. I talked a little bit about him in the spoiler-free version, but I want to get to in more detail here. Austin Butler was great in this movie. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I didn't like the Elvis movie. I did like that one movie he did, Aliens in the Attic, when I got older. Didn't like it as a kid. But the thing is that I wasn't the biggest fan of Austin Butler. Nothing against the guy. Not that I just didn't like him. I just never got as hyped as everyone else did for both Elvis and just him in general. I just never got it. But this movie, I take it back. He's good. He's really good. Fade Ralpha was a really cool character to see on screen, and I think playing this psychopathic, vindictive, bloodthirsty killer throughout this movie really made a good opposite for Paul. Like it really was because, as you know in the movie, they're trying to bring upon the Messiah, the Bene Gesserit. They don't believe Paul is it. They don't think he's the guy. They don't think he can do it. So they're trying to use Rotha, which I've always, I took some time to think about it. He does feel like an antithesis of Paul, where Paul is very reserved and controlling, and Fade is just, like a mindless killer. So I think them, showing the differences between the two was really cool to see throughout the entire movie, where, you see him first in the gladiator arena in that whole setting on Getty Prime, while Paul is wanting to become one of the Fremen and lead these people possibly and just lead them to a better part of where they live, and not know and knowing not to go to the south because he knows if he goes there it's going to get real. So seeing them go back and forth between the characters were really cool to see. I did like that idea a lot, but I also just thought Austin Butler did a really good job. I thought he played Fade Rotha was in a really cool and unique way, where they had the poor guy in a bald cap from like the back of his neck, like the very, very bottom part of his neck, all the way to like right here, pretty much like went over his eyes, almost his eyelids. So having to wear that, especially with Stellan Skarsgård in the fat suit that he explicitly wanted to wear because doing it differently, he said, feels wrong. That commitment of sitting in a chair for 8 hours just to do that, that guy is legit. He knows how to treat this kind of movie with the level of respect. So I really appreciate that. Meanwhile, while that, like I said, that's happening, Paul's learning how to be the Fremen, be with the Fremen, and be one with the Fremen, and be one with the Dune in the deserts. I feel like that whole scene where he's riding the sandworm is so cool. I think that might be my favorite part of the movie. If not, my favorite part is when, they go through the sandstorm and they just come out with all three, maybe even more. It is so good. But I liked, that they were doing, I'd say, justice to how the book is told, and how the the book plays Dune. It was specifically with, did I say Dune? I meant Paul. It plays Paul in the way where it's like he wants to actually lead the Fremen, but he knows that this game of chess can only go on for so long, and that he has to do the certain things that he wants to. He wants to take care of the Fremen, but he knows that he's being seen as the Lisan al-Gaib, and that they see him as this prophet, this Messiah. That in the movie, when you see this turn, him avoiding going to the south and then knowing that he has to take Stilgar's place and go to the south, but after taking the water of life and finding out his past, I feel like that character change is so drastic, so fast. Not for the better. No, not for the worse. It's for the better. In this story where it's like he knows now that to lead them to paradise, this is what's happening. This is gonna happen. This holy war, where I don't know if you've read the books. I haven't read them all, but he kills a lot of people. I mean, a lot. Like, think of the number of what you think of a lot is. You have that number? Triple it at least. Or if you read the book, then you know the number. Paul is not like, he's not a hero. Like, he's not meant to be this savior in a cinematic sense. He is, a lot's gonna happen, and I'm very curious to see how that's going to be portrayed in the third movie. I'm not going to get into it. I really want to kind of see how they're doing it for the third movie, which I don't know when that's going to come out. What I am glad, though, is that Denis taking his time with the third movie. He's not rushing it. He's not wanting to get it out. He will get to it when he gets to it. And I applaud that. And I know that with a success like this, studios want to get that movie out ASAP and P, but he's reserved. He knows what he's doing. And I hope the studios know that too. If Warner Brothers does one thing right, come in, Warner Brothers. Just come close. Come here. If there's going to be one thing you do right, give the man the time he needs to make this movie. Past that, you can really stop doing anything else. You can really stop canceling movies and stuff like that. They don't have to keep doing that, but they will. If you just Warner Brothers, listen to him. He'll give you a lot of money. Now, this movie I think has to make 600 million ish to break even with all the stuff. So that's a lot, and they're probably gonna make it. I mean, they really are. I mean, if you really just go see this movie in any capacity, they'll make it. One thing I do also want to talk about, I want to talk about the Fremen for a little bit, with specifically Stilgar and Chani, which is Javier Bardem and Zendaya. They were both absolutely incredible in this movie, and the thing I think people or at least people that I've talked with think that Zendaya kind of plays the same character a lot, where it's a very moody kind of still faced person, and I don't really think so. I think, comparing Chani and then MJ, or Chani and then this new character from the Challengers movie, or that one with Netflix with John David Washington. That's who, with the movie that they did. It was like Malcolm something. It was black and white. It was really good. Just can't remember the name of the actual movie. And if you watched any of those movies I just mentioned, you know that they are not even close to the same person. Yes, they are very angry people in some parts, but like they're not even close to the same character. The point being is that I think Zendaya at the end of this movie, where there was a certain point where I don't think she said a singular word for like 10 minutes afterwards. Like after the whole part where Paul is in the siege with those hundreds of Fremen, becoming the Lisan al Gaib, and he's reading the people's, you know, past, where he's, kind of peering through space and time, which is a super cool way on how they did that. And talking to these people and creating this image that just way that she portrays the betrayal and her frustration through her expression alone. Like it's really interesting on how they did that. Not interesting in a bad way. She did a great job portraying this frustration she feels, because she feels like this whole thing is now for his benefit, and what he was promising her is kind of now being flipped. And I know in the movie where Lady Jessica is saying like you got to make the right deals for the betterment of everything. So, I don't think he's like throwing Chani and everything out and going for Florence Pugh's character. I think he knows if he does this, it's what he has to do. I think he's like just kind of going through the motions of it, but he still loves Chani. And frankly, I don't even know at this point. I really don't. I'm just kind of grasping here, but I know the fact that she did awesome. She did great. Stop saying it's the same person. And for Javier Bardem, I like seeing Javier Bardem in any movie, and especially this movie where he was playing this follower of Lisan al Gaib, and he is wanting to help Paul become Lisan al Gaib because he believes he is that. And I think him having this expression of excitement, just knowing he's in the presence of this being he's believed in for years and wants to teach him the ways that the Fremen are. And just, I like Javier Bardem. I thought he did great. I could be going on for hours. He did really, really good. Rebecca Ferguson was really good in this movie too, as Lady Jessica. And that one little cameo we saw of Anya Taylor-Joy as the sister, all grown up and everything, was unique, because she all just did was just Paul. And that's the movie. And, that's her. And, that give her the Oscar. In reality, Rebecca Ferguson was really good in this movie. I liked how they really changed her character drastically from the first movie to become, I think, like the all mother or whatever. I don't know what the name of the title was. Sorry. But I know that when she took the water of life and just had this trip, the drastic character change was not like without reason. Like she knows what she has to be doing, and it's very, in some parts, like devious. Like she's kind of preying on these people and having everything be forged for Paul. Like she's been making this path for him and being like, hey, go. Either way, Rebecca Ferguson was absolutely stellar in this movie. And to the person that made her cry on set, you know who you are. You know what you did. We will be looking for you. So let me put it like this. Rebecca Ferguson, she seems really, really nice. She's had some funny moments off camera and everything, when she's been doing interviews. She seems rather nice. Do you know how great of an actor you have to be to make a top hat look good with you wearing it? Like, really good. You have to be that good, and she's that good. For also a moment, I really want to talk about the Dune worm in this movie. I think the Dune worm really was fantastic in this movie. And I'm just going to be calling it by its real name, the Shai Halud. I feel like the Shai Halud in this movie really did a stellar job in this. I think their camera presence was really great. And I was really impressed how they got so many in one movie. I feel like, you know, getting them on the casting sheet's a little hard since, you know, they're giant and they may take up a lot of screen, space, but I'm really proud of how Denis was able to capture their presence perfectly and that they were really working well together. I think that the Shai Halud really may go for the Oscar this year or this next year at least. And I know that they were absolutely incredible. I'm very, very curious to see how they're going to be playing. If they're even seen in the next movie, I probably not since they're going to be going to different places. But I think they did really, really good. Just hopping back to the Austin Butler thing for a second. The fact that he did a Stellan Skarsgård impression the entire movie, and Stellan himself didn't even know that. So when they met, he was like, "Hi, I'm Stellan," and he's like, "Hi, I'm Austin Butler," and they were just like, "Whoa, you sound exactly like the dude." Kind of shows how much effort he really wants to put in these roles. So I applaud him for that. I feel like talking like man, knife, chip, and shatter, just the whole movie is takes a lot because I know this man's in his voice is like a chameleon, I guess. But I was really proud of him. It was really, really well done. There were moments actually in the movie where I couldn't tell whom was talking because they both sounded very similar. Visually, I think this movie was incredible. Doing the black and white for Getty Prime under the black sun and shooting that entire fight sequence in that black and chrome was so cool. It was so good. I really did like seeing this movie and its artistic choices where it was showing visually a lot of stuff like they did in the first movie, but this one felt really cool to see the different parts of this world still on camera, like when they were decomposing Jamas's body and they were sucking all the water out and then they're pouring the water into the pool thing, and I really caught the name, and you just see like mile long filled canal of water from the Fremen. And I think showing that is great because you can see the importance and the world building of just the Fremens and the Sieges and why to them it's so important that they keep the planet of Arrakis their own. And of course, like they're the people that live there. They want to keep it, but still showing immediately after the first movie the importance of the Fremen and you becoming attached with them and to see what then happens later on just devastates you. And then you go to Gady Prime and then you see their dark and soulless world of brutality and their savageness and just their portrayal and celebration of power and sacrifice for their own being is such a great parallel to see between the Fremen and the Harkonnens. And I think showing that visually is really cool. Plus, you got like liquid fireworks. It's rad. Just, I think Denis, as a director, knows how to set a world. Even though I know he's been stating recently that he regrets doing Blade Runner 2049, I think that's one of his best works. I love that movie. I love that movie so very much. And I think kind of going similar to the first Blade Runner movie where they're doing the long scapes of the entire city and showing its dark and saturated look is still important. But at the same time, he knows how to work the camera and he does such a good job at it. Like the visual of Paul riding the sandworm and you're caught going through the dunes itself and you're getting, you feel like yourself you're going to get blasted in the face of sand and seeing the different perspective of the mind, the spice miners and the rock climbing thing where the Harkonnens were using that levitating zero gravity thing was just so cool to see. Denis at the same time knows how to build a world, continue a story, show the full story, and does a lot of show not tell with it. He really knows how to powerfully work the camera to continue dialogue without having to say a word. And he even said himself that he wishes there was a lot less dialogue in his movies. Like if he could have a silent film with just visuals, he really would. I have no doubt. But because this man knows how to tell story visually, I like that. I have been an advocate for show not tell for a long time because I feel like so many things in movies is that they just kind of give you everything and they don't let you experience the world. They don't let you feel immersed into it. It's almost like you're being guided through, like you're kind of just moving along quickly. Like you're on that moving belt thing at the airport and you're getting the airport, but you don't get to kind of like be in it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's like that. So Denis, enjoy, this movie and enjoy post Oscar season while you can, because y'all are going to be campaigning real hard come this next year. This movie's an A+. This movie's so stupid good. I cannot get enough of this movie. I'm probably going to be buying it. I'm going to be learning Fremen in the meantime. And I'm also going to be learning throat singing because of this movie. Because that movie starts off so good with the boom. I don't know how they do it. Super good. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe. And go check our past episodes, as we have season 3 episodes on YouTube. And if you want to check out our past episodes of the Tu-Vie podcast, you can check them out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All in the description below. Be sure to check us out. Also, if you want to catch us with us on what we are watching, go check out our letterbox. I just was posting out some new lists that we made, and a constant one I'm updating, which is my least favorite movies list, which you can check out now and tell me how wrong I am. Also, be sure to check us out on Instagram and TikTok. I post a lot of good stuff there, a lot of daily stuff on our Instagram. So if you want to hang out with us, go check us out on Instagram. Thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you guys next time.